It started as an experiment born out of necessity. I had a pile of spoiled vegetables that I couldn't feed to animals, couldn't eat, and didn't want to waste. Instead of tossing them, I decided to mix them directly into my garden soil. No compost bin, no waiting period, just rotten greens, fruit peels and soft tomatoes worked straight into the dirt. What happened next surprised me, and it revealed a principle that's been quietly at work in natural ecosystems for millennia. Beneath the surface of every thriving garden lies a world of chemical transformation, microbial warfare, and nutrient recycling that turns decay into fertility. In this guide, we'll unpack exactly what happens when you mix rotten vegetables into soil, how the science supports it, and how you can safely use this technique to supercharge your garden. Rotting vegetables aren't waste, they're nutrient gold in disguise. At its core, decomposition is nature's most efficient recycling system. When vegetables rot, they don't simply go bad. Instead, they begin a biological breakdown process where fungi, bacteria, and small soil organisms convert complex organic compounds into simpler plant-available nutrients. Rotting vegetable matter is rich in nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, the same nutrients found in store-bought fertilizers. The key difference is that in decaying food, these nutrients exist in organic forms that release slowly and naturally. For instance, the starches and sugars in a rotting potato become food for bacteria that, in turn, release carbon dioxide and water, both essential to soil respiration. The fibrous stems of wilted greens or carrot tops introduce cellulose, which fungi break down into humic substances, critical compounds that help soil retain water and nutrients. Even the sour-smelling byproducts of anaerobic rot can, under the right conditions, stimulate certain microbial communities that accelerate nutrient cycling once exposed to air. What looks like garbage to us is actually a complex, slow-release nutrient package waiting to feed the soil web. The science of decomposition changes depending on oxygen, temperature and moisture. When you bury rotten vegetables, you create a miniature ecosystem governed by oxygen and moisture levels. If the soil is well aerated, aerobic bacteria dominate the process, producing those mild earthy smells and generating steady heat as they consume the organic matter. This is, in fact, the same process that occurs in a healthy compost pile. However, if the soil is compacted or overly wet, anaerobic bacteria take over. These organisms thrive without oxygen and break down matter more slowly, producing methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other gases that cause that sharp odour of decay. Understanding this difference is honestly crucial for gardeners. Aerobic decomposition enriches soil with humus and microbial diversity, while anaerobic rot can temporarily harm plant roots if not managed properly. The goal, therefore, is to maintain balance. Mixing rotten vegetables into soil that drains well and adding a layer of dry material like straw, leaves or old mulch on top helps regulate airflow and prevent the build-up of harmful gases. Over a few weeks, the once foul mixture transforms into dark, crumbly soil teeming with microbial life. The biggest mistake people make when burying food scraps or rotten produce is putting them too close to active plant roots. Freshly decomposing material generates heat and temporarily draws nitrogen from the surrounding soil as microbes work to break it down. This process, known as nitrogen immobilization, can stunt plant growth if done too close to growing crops. So, the best approach, really, is to dig trenches or holes about 12 to 18 inches deep, fill them with rotten vegetables, and then cover them with at least 8 inches of soil. This depth, you see, ensures that decomposition happens below the root zone, where all those wonderful microbial processes can occur undisturbed. Over time, earthworms and microorganisms will migrate toward the decaying material, mixing it upward and enriching the soil layers above. It's quite fascinating, isn't it? Now, if you plan to plant in that same area, it's best to give it at least 3 to 4 weeks before sowing seeds or transplanting. By that time, the microbial activity will have stabilized, and the soil will be absolutely charged with available nutrients. This method, sometimes referred to as trench composting, was actually a common wartime gardening practice, back when people really needed to recycle every scrap of organic material without access to fertilizers. Rotten vegetables, well, they fuel the soil food web in ways that chemical fertilizers simply never can. When you add synthetic fertilizer, you're only feeding plants directly. But when you add decomposing vegetables, you're feeding the entire soil ecosystem. And that difference, honestly, is profound. The microbes that break down organic waste also create soil aggregates, improve structure and store carbon, building long-term fertility. Earthworms, drawn to the decaying matter, aerate the soil and leave behind castings rich in plant nutrients. Even beneficial nematodes, fungi and protozoa thrive in the microhabitats created by decomposing food scraps. It's a whole world beneath our feet, really. This living web sustains itself long after the original material has vanished. Studies have shown that soils enriched with organic matter from decomposed food not only produce healthier crops, but also resist drought, erosion and disease better than those fed with chemical inputs alone. Essentially, rotten vegetables become the foundation for a self-sustaining fertility cycle that modern agriculture often overlooks. To safely and effectively use rotten vegetables in your soil, begin by selecting a section of your garden that's not currently growing delicate crops. Dig a trench or hole. Mix the decomposing vegetables with a small amount of dry carbon-rich material like shredded paper, sawdust or dried leaves, and then cover it completely with soil. Moisture is key. Keep the area damp, but not waterlogged to promote balanced decomposition. If you're working with a raised bed or container garden, you'll want to use the layering method. Place a layer of rotten vegetable scraps right at the bottom, then cover it with, about 4 to 6 inches of soil, and let it sit for a few weeks before you start planting. Over time, this buried organic layer will break down and release nutrients upward through capillary action. It's a technique that's particularly useful for backyard gardeners who want to build soil health naturally, without the need for constant fertilizer application. The science, in the end, really does prove that decay is the engine of growth. Mixing rotten vegetables into soil isn't just a shortcut, it's actually a return to the natural rhythm of regeneration that's always sustained life on Earth. Every forest, grassland and healthy farm owes its fertility to this same process of decay and renewal. What we tend to throw away as waste is, in truth, the raw material of life's next cycle. By understanding the science behind it, things like microbial activity, nutrient conversion, and soil structure, you can turn ordinary decomposition into a deliberate tool for better gardening. So, the next time you see a pile of spoiled vegetables, just think twice before tossing them. Mix them into your soil, manage the conditions, and watch how nature turns decay into vitality. That's the hidden chemistry of sustainable gardening. Simple, ancient, and endlessly effective. If you found this breakdown valuable, do make sure to subscribe to Hydra Haven for more deep dives into natural soil science, regenerative gardening methods, and practical experiments that reveal the power hidden beneath our feet. Share this video to spread the knowledge. Because, honestly, the best gardens are the ones built on understanding, not waste.